Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored and excited as always when I get to do a story of hope, and especially with one of my cherished Yes You Can Get Pregnant e-course girls. So today we have Chelsea here with us, and you are now, what, 31 weeks? Is that what you said, pregnant?
Yep, today.
You want to show your belly? Do you feel like it?
So we just went for like our third trimester scan yesterday, and the whole theme of the appointment was big. Did you have a big baby before? Why is this baby so big? So they say he's already measuring like 5 pounds. I'm like, oh, cool. But
that's all the fat you've been eating. That's what that is.
Yes, animal protein,
fats. I love it. So this is your second pregnancy, but between baby number 1 and baby number 2, how many years was it?
It was 4.5 years.
And how many, 6 IUIs?
Yep. 6 IUIs, 4 IVF retrievals, a fresh transfer, and 4 frozen transfers.
And then to get pregnant naturally at the end of all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it. Why don't I want you to kind of run with the story, and I'll interject with some things.
Sure. Well, I remember when I finally, or when I came across you first, was summer of 2021. My coworker had messaged me, like, she knew we had been trying, so she messaged me an email from her OB that was featuring you. So all of a sudden I'm in this rabbit hole of Aimee Raup, and then your egg quality diet book was just about to come out.
Oh, that's right. It just came out in June, right?
So I remember it was like early steps in June, and we kind of got to see like how we should start things, but you didn't start the group for the book yet. So I got like all my foods, and I was going away to visit my cousin with my daughter. And so I was like, just trying, remember just eating a lot of hard-boiled eggs and trying to start the diet without reading the full book yet. But yeah, and so when I first found you too, I remember trying to be on those fertility hot seats and not being able to get in, getting to hear a lot of great stories and questions. And then we just, I just started following you, Aimee, and reading the books, and while still pursuing treatments.
Right, because you had been pursuing treatments for 3 years before you met or found me, right?
Yes.
19 started as that.
Yeah.
Your first IUI was, you started trying to conceive for number 2, 2017, December through March 2019. And your first IUI was April 2019, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then that was not successful. And then we did a second IUI. We got pregnant there, but had a miscarriage, and like that kind of just like rocked our world. So of course, when that happens, the doctor starts saying like right away, like, let's do IVF. That we did a trial study called the RETA study. So we got us into that for IVF. And
at that point you were what, 33?
Yes. Yeah. So we did that. We got some eggs from that. It was kind of like a blind study, and they weren't able to report on meds and stuff. So it kind of felt like, oh, like, did we get the best out of that? But we ended up getting or having 2 transfers. They were both unsuccessful, one fresh. And after the fresh, I was taking a break. My husband encouraged me to go to the GI because I've just been having issues ever since I had my daughter, and got diagnosed with celiac. So then took a lot of time off to heal the gut. And I wish I would have known about your books then, because I feel like that, kind of like really got like the gut healing good. But so then we did our frozen transfer. I think it was COVID hit, so that was kind of delayed. And then we did our frozen transfer
August 2020. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that didn't work. So we went back to some IUIs. We did 4, they didn't work. So we went back into IVF starting April 2021.
Yeah. And then from that, you did, let's see, 2 more retrievals and got 2 euploids basically from each of those total.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
But then continued on transfers and nothing.
Yeah,
Transfer.
transfers, tests, we did receptiva, the error, the mock transfers.
And then, but by the summer of 2021, where you did that FET with the euploid, you did an autoimmune protocol, because at that point you had discovered me and you dug into, I think, pregnune testing or autoimmune testing, right?
Yeah,
Because
through Dr.
at that
Vidal.
point now she's had 2 chemicals and 1 miscarriage. So now she's definitely in the category of, recurrent pregnancy loss, if you will, right? So you kind of went down that rabbit hole, if you will,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
didn't discover too much, right? You said some high NK cells and
And then for my husband, the MTHFR.
MTHFR. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, so at that point too, I had all of your resources, the bonuses, content for the egg quality diet book. So there was a whole like daddy diet. So
Yes.
with him having that gene, he started following that too. And we're just kind of, we're in it, just kept going. And then I think after that, we
Yeah,
did
because
one
that
more retrieval.
transfer with the euploid didn't work in July. And then September, you go and do another retrieval and you get 1 euploid. You get 24 eggs, 16 mature, 14 fertilized, 1 day 6, which
Mhm.
was just like such a low,
Yeah,
correlation, if you will.
and I got COVID I remember like having the retrieval and then a couple days later just being so sick and I got hit with COVID. So I don't know if it was like already like I don't know if that did anything, but yeah, just one euploid after all those eggs and embryos. So that was low for us. Yeah.
And then that's when the reproductive immunology labs with Pregmune and Vidali, and we didn't discover that much, which was also like upsetting.
Yeah.
Who told you to do the adgestin for those 6 weeks? Who was that?
So that was my fertility doctor. He's from the receptiva was negative, but it was like close to the
Close
cusp.
to positive, right? I remember.
So he said, why not? Let's just do adgestin. So we did that for the 6 weeks.
That's almost like a depot lupron. It shuts down the system to ideally help with implantation. And so you did that for the 6 weeks. That's right. And then another embryo transfer.
And
another chemical.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we had a last retrieval in March 2022.
At this point now, because I think this is good to point out, you'd been doing egg quality diet and you were in the e-course at this point. So June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So it's like 10 months that you're kind of following all my things and you go on to have basically your worst retrieval, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that was super surprising. And that retrieval, we had 12 eggs, 9 were mature, 7 fertilized, and then they all stopped growing on day 3. So we got no blasts from that.
There was no COVID infections in there, right? For either of you between that. Do you remember November to March?
No, we would have because my husband got it after me, but that would have been right October, like right before, which the fertility doctor did reference that as, possibly, with the fertilization rates and stuff, because that was the lowest number of embryos that we had too.
Like your poorest response in a sense. And the protocol was the same. The medication protocol was the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
So could it also have been the stress of the journey and all of the things, or?
Yeah, I do feel like we felt a lot of stress because that felt like the last time we were going to do IVF. And, we knew we had the mosaic embryo, and our doctor, following you, in learning so much about mosaics, like we really talked about transferring it, and our doctor agreed, which we were happy with, but that was our last final transfer.
And then what happened?
That was in June. So then June 2022. And after that, like right away, I knew like I needed to call another doctor. So I had something like in the works and, feel like it'll be okay. But of course, that those appointments take time. We went on vacation. I lined up with another IVF center, and we did consult, and they talked about, they looked at my history and all the labs and everything that I had to give them. And they did a consult, and they're like, it looks like we can try, something a little different. We can see how our lab responds to things. They were more focused on like, let's see what the lab can do for you. Because along the way, Dr. Vidali too, which, and you and Heather, like, just gave a lot of encouragement. Like you said, there wasn't a lot of red flags. Like, we didn't know what was going on. It was the diagnosis of unexplained secondary infertility. So that kind of kept us going. And then this doctor said the same. So we went on vacation, and then I was lined up to go for a baseline of blood work to get ready for starting IVF again, early September. And so we did that, made a lot of payments to get started with a new program. And then I got a call at the end of the day from my blood work. And the nurse said, she's like, we got some news. And I'm like, oh no, like, what's going on? Can I not get started? What's going on? And she said, you're pregnant. So it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I like ran upstairs, and I definitely have a big faith. So I was like praying to my cross and like yelling for Andrew. And I told him, and he's like, what do you mean? Like, so, and then a few minutes later, we had to like put on our straight faces and pick up our daughter from the bus. She had just started kindergarten that week. So just keeping this like really happy secret and keeping hopeful and fearful. And then I jumped on and emailed Heather right away.
Right. And what I think is interesting too is that the last 2 or 3 transfers, you had done an autoimmune protocol, and then for this pregnancy though, you didn't do anything other than the diet and the supplements that we kind of had you on, right?
Yeah.
And
And then,
you carried
of
this
course,
on.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, always checking with Heather and changing my supplements along the way. Like, she was so wonderful, like with coaching. Like, I bought a few sessions,
Yeah.
but she was available to me all the time. And you were available to us in the e-course. So I was able to kind of keep things updated and changing along the way as needed after each treatment. And that was just, yeah.
And in the summer too, like, I mean, you're a girl who was on a very long journey. I mean, you couldn't really go off the diet too much because of your celiac. So you never went back to gluten, but did you have a case of, as I call it, the buckets for a bit, after that transfer?
Not so much. Like,
Yeah.
I think I went more into the no dairy, because then I just kept hearing how the dairy can really mess with people who have autoimmune disorders. So I really didn't like, we had a pool membership, and I'd be at the pool with my liver support. And I remember one day I was like, all right, I got to get some food too, because I was just drinking that and it was pretty hot in the sun. But no, because now, like, I swear, I feel like sugar's kicked. Like, I don't really have many cravings. Like, I definitely love salt and vinegar chips. So that's like my fuck it. But
Yeah.
other than
Not so
that, like,
bad.
with your recipes and stuff, I feel like, I don't know, even my family eats that way now. And my brother moved in with us for a bit, and he's like, oh, I like that egg roll recipe. Let's do it again. So
Amazing.
yeah. So no, the diet, that's one thing I could say. And I really tried hard to get into the good mind space and the meditations that you encourage. And, in the group, you had the fertility womb coach. I tried to do that for a little bit, and I'd always fall off, but the diet, and the supplements was something I really stayed with.
You're like a classic case too, which we said before we started recording. She was like, I'm like the classic Aimee case. And you are, like, literally you joined the e-course in September of 2021. And by end of September 2022, October 2022, you got a positive. And what I always say, like 65% of the women, or what that seems to be the stat, within a year and a half of doing the course are either 20 plus weeks pregnant or have the baby in their arms. That's how we count it. And you're 30 weeks pregnant, but it's kind of amazing actually. Because of all that, right? All those FETs, all those retrievals, all those IUIs, and then to also be 3 years older in the process, and then to go and get pregnant naturally with a healthy, when considering too, the last retrieval didn't give you didn't get any embryos.
Yes.
6 months prior, she does a retrieval, gets nothing. It's her worst retrieval, and then gets pregnant naturally with a healthy child 6 months later at the age of, you're, what are you,
36 now?
Yeah, so you were 35 then, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes. I mean, truly, Aimee, it's a dream come true. Like when I said that it's like classic Aimee case, that, you watch these stories of hope, and that's why I followed you too. Your book and the article, I wish I could find it. The article that my friend and coworker sent me, it just was geared towards your belief that, age can be just a number, and then you really have to improve your fertility within. And I'm one of those now. So thank you so much to you and Heather.
No, and I know you and Heather's such a, she's been with me for over a decade, and she's such an amazing part of this practice. And I know how close you two got too. And I remember her so excited that, oh my God, Chelsea's pregnant.
Yeah. And so now you guys were so kind, and now I'm like, oh, okay, I just need to buy more sessions, because now I'm like, today I wanted to ask Heather something, and I know I can, but still I'd like more time with her. So
we do a lot of pregnancy sessions. It's funny because so many of our girls do get pregnant, which is great. And so,
I had this support group.
I had 2 yesterday, and I have the new mama group. And so you're in that, I think the next office hours is in like a week or two. So you could post a question in there too. And I come through and answer them. So, and we have the new mama guide, so there is a lot of support once you get to this side. But so tell us too, you have a child, so you know what being a mom is, but like, I don't know, the emotions that come up, I suppose, because at some point you thought that you weren't going to get to number 2, right? And so how does that feel now, of like, are you starting to really own it at 31 weeks, I guess?
Oh my gosh. Yes. It took a good while. I was so scared. And you bring that up, and actually that was the biggest piece of everything, like emotional for me. My daughter, we did tell her about that pregnancy in June of 2019, because I knew nothing else. I didn't think a miscarriage could happen. And she was young. She was 2.5, and she remembered it. Wow. And she'd tell me, she announced to everybody, neighbors, family, anytime she could, that we were pregnant. And that really, in her play schemes, like it just came out like, oh, mom's having a baby. And literally that carried on for like years and years. And then finally, my husband and I really my husband, because it was too hard for me to even hear. He talked to her about it, like, we're just praying still, and we're trying. And, one time at the dinner table, we're saying prayers for dinner, and she goes, God, do you hear us? So, and she yelled, and so she continued with it. And I really just wanted a sibling for her. She's so darling with younger children, babies, like that was the hardest part of all of this in it for me, and actually the day that we picked her up from the bus, it was like first week of kindergarten. She comes home and she drew a picture of me pregnant, and she had never done that before.
Wow. So she knew. That's
she was
amazing.
She said it, and I said, oh, what's this? And she's like, well, it's because we're trying, right? And I was just like, put it on the fridge. And that's how we told her. We made her drawing into a shirt that said Big Sister, and her reaction was like, you got to be kidding, Mom. Are you telling the truth? Like,
so sweet. Oh, so she must be so excited.
that got us, and
Yeah.
me in the darkest place, because I just wanted that so badly for her. And she's so excited. And I feel like I wish we told her just like a short couple months ago, because now it's been like a long day. Just the other day, how many more days? Oh, like 70, like every day. But she's happy. She's
That's so
wondering where boy came from, but she's
sweet.
happy.
And you feel like you're owning it now. Obviously, you're closer to the,
Yeah. I was scared to tell everyone. I was scared to tell her, especially.
yeah.
Lots of trauma behind that. So
And do you feel like you've been unpacking that, or feeling like, I don't know, maybe,
yeah.
I think the unpacking will also happen on the other side when you have them.
Yeah. I have a great OB, and she's been through fertility struggles too. So I told her just probably like a couple months ago, and I'm like, I'm so scared of everything. She's like, you will be until the baby's in your arms. And so she gets it, and I love that.
Yeah, that's so nice. I mean, I think that's a huge part of the community too, and of just like the support that you got in there, right, by other women who get it.
Yeah. There's someone in the new mama group who was in the e-course with me, and she's just like, we're like right there at the same timeline. It's really cool.
So good. I love
Yeah.
that. I love that.
So I hope that this really encourages everybody to just stick with it as best you can, because they're
Yeah.
really like miracles that can happen, and you're doing all the things like Aimee said.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's like time, like it was, I guess, probably a year and a half that you were like fully in it, if you will, committed to the diet. And I mean, but slowly, like then you join the e-course, then you coach with Heather. So then we tweak supplements more, and then you continue to tweak and get that one-on-one support. But even like, I'm looking at your supplements. I mean, they're pretty basic, nothing extraordinary in there, meaning everybody's on it. Your D was low. Let's see, hemoglobin was low. So there were things that we picked up on. And I'm just looking, DHEA, but did we even do that? I think we stopped it at one
We
point.
did. Yeah, we stopped that.
Fish oil, NAC,
Just really clean supplements, or like the DHEA.
Okay.
We cleaned that up. And then we stopped it. But
Yeah.
which I'm
And then
like,
go ahead.
now I like to like tell my friends and my sister who, will try for baby number 2, like just like this, use these supplements instead. And I gave one of my coaching sessions. I've had
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
to somebody. Yeah.
One of
So
your good friends, right?
yeah, because then she developed Hashimoto's after her baby, and I developed celiac after Ava. And I'm like, okay, no, you just gotta get with this program right away, and you'll be good. And I have like all the faith for her.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I remember Heather messaged me. She was like, Chelsea wants to gift one of her sessions. And I was like, 100%. She totally can. It's so great.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I know too, you were saying like you did overhaul the whole lifestyle too, right? You really like, you changed bath and beauty products, you changed all your cooking stuff. Like you did all the things. And now you live that way, which is amazing. And so your whole family benefits.
Yeah, I have another brother who's moved in with us since, and he just like laughs when I'm like, don't spray the Lysol. And I don't, he's always laughing at me. He's just like, so.
Yeah, I deal with it too all the time in my house, all the time. And I don't care. So I guess I know you just said like, don't give up, but any words of wisdom? I mean, you really had, not that any journey's more or less than somebody else's, but you had 4 years and a lot of fertility treatments and no success in sight. And so like, how did you keep going? Faith. I think your faith was strong. Yeah.
Definitely faith. And then there was dark times, but it just kind of kept going. My husband was really good. He's like, we're going to keep doing this until we get our baby. And he, he's totally like driven and so, but then he got into his space where then I had to try to pull him out of it. I'm like, well, Aimee says, and let's go to church. And So he, definitely my family, but no, I mean, just overall was hard. This was like a super shock to us. I was excited about a new clinic. I'm like, okay, because our last one just kind of kept saying, well, it's a numbers game and you're following on the wrong side of the luck. And, that was their answer to us. And it was a lot of time and money and heartache, and that just didn't feel good. And so I was excited for fresh eyes, and then this. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm so happy for you, and you'll have to keep us posted when little man gets to the other side. But thank you so much for taking the time, and for being a part of the community, and yeah, and also for trusting me and my team. I really appreciate that so much. So thank you.
I mean, you make it so easy, you and Heather and everybody who supports us, and Beth, and I'm so happy for her.
I
Once
know,
that
right?
happened for Beth too, I'm like, oh, so yes. So along the way too, I got to say the stories of hope, the other women, and so that was
It
really,
keeps it going. It keeps it going.
it
Especially
does.
like when you're in the community and the girls, that's like, I mean, it's hard, I think, too. I mean, sometimes my heart aches for some that are getting, passed over, if you will. But I have faith they'll have their opportunity, and I can't wait till, they're in the seat sharing their stories. It's the best part of my job. And I
Yeah.
love it. Thank
I
you.
wanted to be in the fertility hot seat, but I never thought I'd be able to be a story of hope. So today is a great day for me.
Thank you. It's a great day for me too. I really appreciate it, Chelsea. And it's just so, yeah, we're just so lucky. And I know Heather will be jealous that she wasn't here. And she'll time. You didn't even tell me.
I know. I feel like my sister, mostly she knows about you the most. And she's like, now that she has a baby, she's, living like a really healthy lifestyle. And we're checking, I'm like, well, Aimee says like this product's best. And she's checking over things with me, but I didn't tell her about this either. I don't know why. I'm going to call her right now, but I'm like, why didn't I tell her?
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I know this is going to give so much hope to so many, because there's a lot of girls that are in it, and going for another retrieval and not getting the results. And yeah, it's really pretty to have I mean, it's pretty, it's really, really amazing to, however you get to baby, but it's beautiful to have it had happened the way it did for you. And so unexpected, if you will. Like you were like just moving to another clinic, like getting pregnant naturally was just like not on your radar at all.
It wasn't. And now like I look back and I'm just like, all those years and all those treatments, and then those times where you do a gestin or things that shut down your body, I'm like, we didn't give ourselves time to really try on once I, cleaned up my diet, the supplements, and really took a look at things there. And I wish we would have sooner, but
Yeah, they come when they're meant to come. I mean,
yeah.
I firmly believe that. And like, it's all exactly how it's meant to unfold. And so, be easy on yourself about that. It's like you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Thank you so much. And I
Thank
hope
you.
you guys enjoyed this. And if anybody has any questions like specific to Chelsea or to me, just post them in the comments below. I'll come through and answer. And then if I need to involve Chelsea, I will. And we can get some answers from her, and I'll put them in the comments. So thank you all so much.
All right. Thank you, Aimee.
Much, Chelsea.